Okay, I know it's not quite Christmas time and you may be getting depressed as you walk through the aisles of Walmart and you see Christmas stuff on display and you haven't even hit Thanksgiving or Halloween yet, but it is time to start thinking about the holidays. You have got to start thinking about the holidays well in advance and make sure that your children are accounted for and that you are doing all that you're supposed to be doing as far as custody and visitation exchanges. So in this video, we're going to talk about what you need to do to be prepared for the holidays, to avoid disputes, and to have happy holidays instead of what could be if you don't take these steps. My name is Darlie Twitty, and I am one of the litigation attorneys here at Melone Hatley. I am in our Newport News office in Virginia. I'm going to break this down into basically three categories. One category is sets of parents who don't have any order in place right now. Maybe the separation is new, maybe you're contemplating separating, but there's nothing in any court order or any agreement that says which parent can go where with the children. There are things that can be good if you don't have an order for a certain parent, and there are things that can be bad for the kids or a parent if you don't have something in place. So for instance, if there's no order in place in Virginia, either parent can go wherever they want with the children. They are those children's parent. So if they want to take the kids to Texas to visit their family for Thanksgiving, and that's what they've always done, and you think, okay, yeah, that's what you've always done, they can do that. There's nothing stopping them. There's not really much you can do to stop them with no order in place. And so you might think, sure, you guys always go to Texas for Thanksgiving. We always go to New York for Christmas. We're going to do that. That's okay if you trust that those children are going to come back after that holiday. But on the other hand, if there's no order in place, there's nothing requiring those kids to come back. So if you have a concern that your children's other parent might be taking the children out of state, and maybe it is routine, maybe it is something that's a tradition that you're used to, that you've always done in the past, but this time you're concerned that they might not bring them back, you might need to come talk to a lawyer, see if you can get before the courts for maybe an injunction or something. Maybe it's an agreement that says, yes, go ahead, go to Thanksgiving, go to Christmas, go out of state, but come back. Promise you're going to come back. If you don't come back, then there are repercussions. So think ahead if you don't have any order in place. I think it is important for the kids for you to maintain traditions, to be able to kind of keep the status quo and keep them out of whatever might be going on in the courts or might be going on between the parents. But if there's no order in place, there are some things that you should be on the lookout for, especially if you are considering separation or you are currently separated. The second category of parents and families when we're thinking about the holidays are those families that are currently trying to negotiate an agreement for parenting time. That's what we call it in Virginia, or custody and visitation. And when you are trying to negotiate your time with the children and you're used to being one family household, you're used to going here or there for Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever holidays you celebrate, whatever's your family traditions, those might change. They likely will change when the parents are no longer part of one household. And so the kids need to go one place for some holidays and the other place for some. Maybe you split them. I personally am not a fan of agreements to agree. So agreements that say, well, we'll figure that out later. We'll split the time as the parties may agree. Well, what happens when the parties don't agree? Then you're last minute trying to figure things out and you're pushing that heartache or that difficult conversation to an already stressful time of year, and nobody wins. So think about it in advance. If you're negotiating right now, contemplate, what are our family traditions? Where do the kids normally go? Where do they like going? What traditions do we want to maintain so that the kids are affected at the least amount as possible, so that they're not really affected by this divorce or by this separation so much. They keep up seeing this side of the family, that side of the family, and whatnot. So things that you might not think about that a lawyer will probably ask you to think about, that I always ask my clients to consider, is time of day for exchanges. Sometimes parents will say, well, noon, because it's the middle of the day, right? I have had clients who say 9 a.m. on Christmas morning because our child is so young right now. She wakes up at 5 a.m. So that gives you 4 hours with her on Christmas morning, and then I'll come pick her up at 9 a.m. Well, that might work when she's 4 and she's waking up at 5 a.m., but what about when she's 12 or 13 and she doesn't get up until 10 o'clock and you pull covers off of her even on Christmas morning? That might not work for you then. So I like to suggest, if it works for you and your family, a 2 or 3 o'clock exchange, especially for those holidays that involve meals with families. So think about Thanksgiving. You wake up, child's with you, you're able to cook your Thanksgiving meal, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins come over, they're all playing, you're watching football, you're doing your turkey trot, whatever. You can sit down to a noon meal, a 1 o'clock meal even. You're not rushed, you're enjoying that time with the child's enjoying that time with the extended family. They're not all having to rush over at 8 a.m. to get waffles on Christmas or on Thanksgiving morning before your child goes to the other parent's house. You can even lay back, watch some football, have a slice of pie before dad comes over and picks the child up and goes over to his house. Then if you're dad, you can get up, do your turkey trot, do whatever you're doing, and come over about 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, whatever works for you, pick up the child, head back to your house. Now your family's coming over for a dinner time meal. So you've still got plenty of time to cook your meal, you're not rushed. Child can have a meal with that family, hang out with their cousins and extended family, have another dessert, maybe it's your 3rd or 4th slice of pie instead of 2nd, and the kid gets to enjoy time with each family on those big holidays instead of having to say, well, I'll get them this year and you'll get them the next year. I mean, different things come into play. If you're going across the country to visit family, of course, you're not going to be able to split the day like that. But not a lot of clients really think ahead of time about, oh, that makes total sense why a mid-afternoon exchange time makes more sense than 9 a.m. If it doesn't make sense for your family, do what works for your family. But these are things that an attorney is going to ask you to consider. Another thing is, how do you want to define the actual break? Thanksgiving can be defined however you define it. Maybe it's just Thanksgiving Day that you split and the rest of the break from school is not considered part of Thanksgiving break. Maybe you want to keep your weekends alternating and you just define Thanksgiving as one parent gets Wednesday and half of Thursday, the other parent gets the second half of Thursday and all day Friday, but then your weekend's the same. But if you are a family where one parent travels out of state, then consider that. That can't really be done in a day and a half. So maybe in that circumstance, you define it as when the kids get out of school Tuesday all the way until before they go back to school on Monday or whenever they go back to school. That allows you time to actually travel. So these are questions that an attorney is going to ask you to consider. Think about your own family traditions. Think about what is best for the kids, what's going to keep their life as normal and unchanged as possible, and draft that into your agreement and show the other side. Look, I'm not trying to keep them from you or your family. I know this is what we've always done. Likewise, this is what I'd like to do with my family, and contemplate that while you're drafting your agreement. And now's the time to do it and get those dates in place, get the locations in place. Even if you think it might change in the future, having a default in your agreement, but then a provision that says that you're allowed to modify by agreement gives you that flexibility so that if things do change in the future, you don't have to come back to court or come back and sign before a notary and hire an attorney to draft a modification. But you've got a default. If you just say, we're gonna split it how we agree later, you're setting yourself up to come back and have to renegotiate things and potentially relitigate things, and nobody wants to do that. So if you're in that kind of second group of families where you're in the process of negotiating now, those are some things to consider. And if you come talk to an attorney, we'll give you some other things to consider for your specific situation. The third group of families are those who already have an order in place. So whether it is a consent agreement because you came to an agreement together and were able to have a hand in drafting that, or whether you actually had to litigate and the court gave you an order, now is the time to pull it out. Pull it out, look at it, read it, understand it, call an attorney if you don't understand it, because a lot of times there are deadlines. It might be set up and you might know that you are allowed to travel and that you don't need permission from the other parent to travel, but maybe you have to give notice, and maybe you have to give notice by a certain date. You don't want to make plans and have plane tickets and cruises booked, and then you were supposed to notify the other parent by November 1st, and you didn't notify them by November 1st, and now if somebody's being difficult, now look at what you're up against. The order is clear. You might end up in court. You might not get to court before then. There can be all kinds of problems that you could avoid if you pull out that agreement now, review it early and often, but especially right before the holidays are coming up, and remind yourself and the other party what needs to be done. If they're not telling you, hey, I plan to take the kids here, and you know that they plan to do that, reach out to them, ask them, hey, can you, comply with this order? Let me know where you're going, where you're gonna be, contact information. Are you still planning on doing this? Okay. Just reach out to each other before it's too contentious and you're double booking and there are problems. You want the holidays to be a happy time for your kids, but also a happy time for you so that your plans aren't thwarted, your vacations go seamlessly, you get to have these memories with your kids, especially if it's the first time that you are having holidays as a separated couple or not one family and the kids are going from place to place. Try to make that as seamless as possible and as happy for them, the least amount of contention as possible. So review your order. If there's something in there that needs to be changed, now is the time. Contact an attorney, let them know time is of the essence. I've got the holidays coming up. I don't like what this says. Am I going to be able to change it before the holidays? Am I going to be able to get before a court or negotiate a change before then? And let the attorney know that this is something that is coming up and you really need somebody who's available right away and isn't going to cause further delays. So there are kind of three categories of families that I think of in terms of preparing for the holidays and making sure that arrangements are in place so that your kids have a seamless, happy holidays. So whether you are a family who has not yet had to negotiate an agreement, newly separated, there's no order in place, or you are currently negotiating an agreement or kind of in and out of the courts, potentially going to have to litigate, or whether you already have an order and an agreement in place, bring it back out this time of year, take a look, talk to an attorney, review all of this and decide, do you need to come in and talk to an attorney? If you do, please call a Melone Hatley attorney. We can get you in for a strategy session very quickly. We can get you set up with an attorney who has availability on their schedule to be able to do what you need to do before the holidays. But act now. Call us for a consultation with a Melone Hatley attorney and have a happy holidays.